And then they change its genes a little so that it won't be rejected by the cow. So they say, well, it's not really a human clone because it's a small percentage cow. Now, again, you can't tell that it's a cow. It doesn't have like a cow snout or cow ears. It has cow genetics. And so they say, well, you don't have rights. And then they harvest them and use them. China, on record, actually takes the babies if they catch you having more than one child, especially if you have two. They take the baby they've now discovered and don't just drown them. It's their favorite thing to throw them in a tank and then use them for medical parts and cosmetics, collagen that's sold in the United States and Europe to rich women. But also, I guess, metrosexual men. They now keep the babies alive and grow organs in them and things. But, hey, too many people, so it's a good thing. We're going to hear all day, about a baby killed and did the mommy do it and who put the baby in the woods and, every news channel kept covering it. But meanwhile, they got kids in tanks, just in torture hell. And they've got these embryos, in tanks. I've talked to scientists that work at the facilities that are part animals, so they don't have rights. And the babies are grown up larger to grow organs in them, and they're gulping for milk and gulping for air in the tanks. It's all part of the freedom. Science 30 years ahead at least. Giant control grids, the water, the food, all poisoned. So there won't be any families. You won't even be able to be attracted to men or women. Just pure hell released, just poured out upon everyone. And then the mass extermination. Genetic warfare will be released. And they're not going to need the cops or military anymore. Everything's going to be robotic. As soon as they have the factories completed to work on the robots and service the robot drones and ground forces and the robot tanks they've had for at least 20 years, my God, hell's going to be released on everybody. And all of you laughing conditioned people, I can't even get mad at you because you were put in front of the television at birth in your diapers and sent into a mesmerized state. The general public is in a trance. And in fact, if you're listening now and giggling, it's because you're in a trance level with a hypnotic suggestion to giggle and laugh when you hear the truth. That's why you get so upset. Women are laughing right now because, I'm telling them that the bisphenol A massively increases their breast cancer. They've taken your life force away from you. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Central, we're here live. I mourn every day for humanity. I mourn for the fact that already much of the genetic history of this planet has been irreparably destroyed and ruined by design by the global social engineers and genetic engineers. And, I read this article that is titled Genetic Modification Gone Wild. 10 signs that our world may be destined to resemble a really bad science fiction movie. It already resembles it. But the public, on average, spends now around 6 hours a day in a lower brain state. When you're watching television, it brings you into a lower brain state. Major universities for more than 60 years, nonstop, do studies of how to flicker the rate and how to put information embedded in the transmission to manipulate your mind. You can read the studies, but I've been given internal tours that I wasn't even supposed to get of the University of Texas Psychology Department. Monkeys by the thousands in cages, by the hundreds strapped in with their eyes wired open, watching flicker rates on television sets and commercials, all engineered to assault you viciously, all DARPA funded. I saw that 10 years ago. I'm not going to even get into it. That is right down the street from here. And I was able to see the monkeys by remote control out at Bastrop. I was watching them from cameras. The scientists sit in there. You go to the next DARPA-funded room. It's pornography and how to confuse gender through messages on television. Department of Defense. I'm taken to the next room. Every room, DARPA, 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 being shown this. Of course, they'll try to reverse engineer who showed it to me. Doesn't matter. I didn't talk about it till years and years after, so they'll have trouble tracking it. But the point is that you can go research all this for yourself. They have spent trillions, and they write white papers at bragging about it, about how to control and manipulate you. The Google NSA data gathering system is designed to predict the future, and it's able to do it individually. They say as of last year, 93% of the time, 99% of the time, they can predict major mass movements. And as they get more data fed in to this system, which was always their goal, Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, written in, what, the 40s, is about that? And the rules of robotics. What man envisioned has now become real. And that's why they're so arrogant. That's why they don't care. I'm going to explain this again to you. Your food, your water. You just think they stop with fluoride, that 7-fold increase in cancer in the bones? You think they just stop with bisphenol A and almost all the plastic and the printer ink that you touch and then reduces your fertility? That's all old tech. 60 years. Everywhere where there's rebellious people, the United States, Ireland, the Basque, in Spain. Those were chemical weapon programs developed in the 20s and 30s on record. On record. Do you know what they're doing with the rice and the corn and the wheat and the soybeans? Continuing here. Notice I'm spending more and more time on this because I realize everything else is now a side issue. You've got to realize most of this is a distraction, a diversion, a false construct. We have a breakaway technocratic civilization in the universities, in the government, under national security, doing whatever they want. And only by compartmentalized people in the system waking up and going, wow, how does this guy know all of this? See, I'm pointing out things you already know but never connected, and then begging you to go read the white papers while they're still public, before they bring in the Borg centralized censored web, which they're openly calling for. But Japan isn't the only one doing this kind of research. In Missouri, universities are engineering, part pig and part human, are being grown with the goal of providing organs for human transplants. Always sounds great. Number 8, scientists at Rockefeller University have injected human genes into mice. These humanized mice are being used to study the spread of hepatitis C, you're told. U.S. scientists have discovered that they can actually grow new human organs from scratch. The following is a quote from the recent Newsweek article. It goes on. In Japan, they're coming out with feces that is then transmutated into meat. Folks won't believe that. Type in Japan, feces to meat. We'll show folks the article. Here's another one. Believe it or not, a company in Canada known as Nexia has actually taken goats and genetically modified them to part spider. 19 years ago, this was made public that it was going on a decade before by the Pentagon. They then just privatized the gene sequencing. And last time I checked, there were 5 companies doing it in the U.S. alone. And what was it, 15 years ago, I had the CEO on bragging about how they have these goats released in the open. And when you zoologically cross animals, it causes major problems. Diseases and insects can then get into mammals. Yeah, let's put that back on screen for folks because I want to read the headline for radio listeners. Japan's scientist synthesizes meat from human feces. There you go. They hope to bring it on the market for you and your family. And it goes on, as frightening as all of these examples may sound, and this is all ancient news, the truth is genetic modification of plants has gone even further. Yeah, some crops have over 100 insect, plant, and human genes in them. A decade ago, they had pharmacological crops growing live HIV. This is all being done. Today, approximately 93% of all soybeans and approximately 80% of all corn in the United States, and that's a low number, have been genetically modified. No. Almost 100% of all corn varieties worldwide, including 10,000-year-old corn varieties in Mexico, are now contaminated. They're gone. They're dead. It's over. But don't worry. They're going to tax that carbon dioxide you're exhaling. And they're going to raise the radiation levels of what's safe. Everything's fine. They're going to tax what plants respirate from and then put off oxygen for us. Now, they couldn't come out and tax oxygen because even the dumbest people know that's good. So carbon dioxide sounds like monoxide, just like you can go out and get most people to sign a form calling for banning dihydrogen monoxide. Do you know what dihydrogen monoxide is? It's water. Most people will sign forms, and the studies have been done. Over 90% will sign forms to ban sodium chloride. Sounds scary. Do you know what sodium chloride is? Sodium chloride is salt. Let's worry about salt. Let's worry about water. Let's worry about carbon dioxide. But let's splice everything and release it open air. Let's do it. Let's have the system openly write white papers on it in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I've got UN biological diversity assessments where they state, well, the 96 one, they said we need to encourage war, famine, we need to cut off resources to reduce population, and we need to encourage homosexuality. Now, see, this isn't a moral statement for me. Let's get that out of the way. With everybody's fetish of obsessing on this. I obsess on the stars and genetics and flowers and beauty and green grass and streams and okay, I'm not all upset and you know, freaked out and everything's bombarded with this stuff constantly. I'm above it. I'm above your silly paradigms. You know, and all the latent gay people that obsess and bash gay people all day. I'm not talking about that group either. I'm talking about you having what you are as a ancient genetic expression of this beautiful planet being manipulated in the embryonic phase and after, so that you won't have children, so there won't be a family unit that tribally defend each other, so there's no opposition to the global hive Borg. And the end of our species that has been stated, this is the end of us, the end of humanity, the end of humankind, the end of it all. The end of it. The globalists are psychopaths. They are sadists. They love war and death and ugliness. You read the New York Times and other reports about art. The hottest art for 2 decades now is buckets of pus, photos of dead babies, skulls. They'll, as a tithe, the Fortune 100 and others, and the top bankers who buys this stuff in the news will come in and pay $37 million for a bucket of pus with maggots in it. To worship it, it is a tithe. It is taking stuff they stole from families and people they destroyed and old people they robbed and buying a jar of pus with maggots. It is a worship of it. It is a conjuring of dark energies. Why do you think Lady Gaga and the rappers, it's all about psychopath, killing your husband, killing your wife, kidnapping children, murder? Lady Gaga is going to have a concert with executed, this is in the news, executed Chinese dissidents sliced open in big vats of formaldehyde. That's to train you that it's exciting and beautiful so that when you get run over, when you get killed, when you get soft killed, the system will love it. They're turning our atmosphere into who they are. Hell, a very crack in dimensional Hades is releasing this. Doesn't matter if you're religious, doesn't matter if you believe in nothing. Manifest death is being injected psychically and physically into us so we will stand down. Now, let me break this down for you, okay? Because I'm tired of the denial. How many times did I tell you that television gives you Alzheimer's? I want to show people this. Type in television Alzheimer's. Hundreds of articles. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. It's probably in the thousands. I've seen hundreds of studies. They knew it takes you into a near dream hypnotized state within minutes of watching it. The first time you watch television, on average, it takes 45 to 50 minutes. After you click and sync with your... Folks, your eyes are brain stalks. They are your brain. They are brain tissue. Your eyes are a neural, visual device taking in the information. They can send carrier waves over it. They can put subliminals in it. But more importantly is the flicker. I saw more articles today. Oh, my God, it's so evil, about the light bulbs and how they're going to be programming us. That's why, by law, they're putting in the fluorescence. and taking out the phosphorescence where they can flicker them to calm the public. I mean, folks, we are in the matrix. Our brain is a matrix. Our brain is what we see the world through. We are physically here, but the brain is a virtual reality matrix. And they're programming that with outside stimuli, electronic, magnetic, but also chemical.